This is the fastest handheld that we've ever tested over here on the channel. Nothing comes close, and for good reason. This is actually powered by a Strix Halo APU, and what we've got is the new GPD Win 5. This thing truly is an absolute monster with an 80 watt-hour removable battery. Again, we've got that Strix Halo APU putting down some serious performance. It's got a 7-inch 120 Hz display, dual front-firing stereo speakers that support DTS, locking triggers, and Hall effect joysticks. GPD really threw everything they had at this device, and it does look very similar to the older Win devices, but it's coming in with a much larger form factor. I mean, we've got the biggest screen here that we've seen in a device like this from them so far. In this video, I've got a lot to cover, a lot to go over, and a lot that I want to test. So before we get into it, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by URCDKeys. I've been using this site for quite some time now. They offer Steam keys, Uplay, Ubisoft, but the main thing I pick up over here are Windows 11 Pro keys. And right now, if you use code ETA, you can get 25% off. So at checkout, we'll just enter the code ETA. That's going to bring the price down to $22.88. They're going to email you that key, and then you can activate Windows. Speaking of that, let's head over to a new PC that I recently built. As you can see, we're running Windows 11, and from settings, we're going to go to activation settings. It's going to tell us that we're not active. We don't have a key installed, so we're just going to paste it right in here, choose next. It's going to activate Windows for us, and we're ready to go. If you're in need of cheap Windows keys, I'll leave a link in the description, and remember, you can use code ETA for 25% off. Some would say it's very PSP and PS Vita inspired. In fact, when it comes down to it, the D-pad here is right out of a PS Vita. Taking a look around back, we've got some programmable macro keys, the locking trigger switches, plus our spot for that detachable battery. And you can see we've got a lot of ventilation here, and that's because we've got a pretty powerful chip. GPD had to design a totally new cooling system for this, and I think they did an absolutely amazing job with what they've got. Up top, we've got a full-speed 40 gig USB 4 port, our power input for the included 180 watt power supply. We've also got a full-size USB 3.2 port here. Down here at the bottom, we've got another USB-C port. This is actually USB-C 3.2, and this also supports a mini SSD to expand the storage. The Win 5 can be used strictly off of a power supply, or you can attach that rear battery. And I'll tell you, I mean, without the battery, this thing is super light. It's way lighter than you'd ever think. But attaching the battery around back is super simple. It's got a spring-loaded locking mechanism, and with this installed, it's around 930 grams in total. So it is a bit heavier than most of the other handhelds on the market, but since that weight is in the middle, it's not horrible. And they do include something really cool here that I've actually been utilizing quite a bit with the Win 5. The battery extension cable uses thumb screws to attach to the back of the handheld and the battery itself. That way you could throw the battery in a sling bag, backpack, or even your pocket. Now the handheld only weighs around 560 grams without the battery attached to the bag, making it a super lightweight unit for sure. Now you can see around back we've got that cable that comes out, and I kind of wish it was pointed upwards, maybe like a 90-degree up, but it's still very flexible and you can set it down flat on the table. Now, we don't have to worry about the weight of that battery. We'll go ahead and boot this up. And by the way, that power button over on the left-hand side also dubs as a fingerprint sensor, so you can log in really quickly to the Win 5. And out of the box, this is running Windows 11, but you could always install Linux. Bazzite does support the chipset here, and I will have a video coming up soon, so keep an eye on the channel. But when it comes to the overall specs, GPD actually makes two different variants of the Win 5. And between those two APU variants, there's a few different RAM and storage options. But what I've got here is the AMD Ryzen AI Max 385. It's based on Zen 5, and this is the one that I really wanted to get my hands on. They also make a 395, which is going to put down more performance at higher wattages. But given that the 385 has 8 cores and 16 threads, I do think it's probably the best choice for a handheld or a battery-powered device. It's got a base clock of 3.6, a boost up to 5. It's got a Radeon 8050 Si GPU with 32 compute units. It's based on RDNA 3.5, and it'll boost up to 2800 megahertz. You can get this with either 32, 64, or 128 gigabytes of RAM. It's LPDDR5X running at 8,000 megatransfers per second, and it's actually configured in a 256-bit bus, so it's a lot faster than other handhelds on the market that we've seen with things like the Ryzen Z2 Extreme. 7-inch 120Hz 1080p VRR display, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, and again, Windows out of the box, but you could install Linux if you want to. When it comes to the overall feel of this device, I mean, it's actually really comfortable. It's got those rounded corners there, and even with that battery installed, since it's right in the middle, it doesn't feel super heavy. It's not lopsided or anything like that. It's all right there in the middle. It just kind of falls right into the palm of your hand, and you can reach all of these buttons super easily. You've got those Hall-based analog sticks up front, locking triggers around back, and this D-pad is the same D-pad that we see inside of the PS Vita. So it's using dome switches, and if you know the Vita, it was great for fighting games, so this little D-pad does work out really well. Moving around back to those trigger locks, so you can swap these at any time, left and right side. Got a full throw on it, or you can go with that hair trigger, great for first-person shooter games or racing games, however you want to go about it. But yeah, it actually does feel really good in the hand. Up front, we've got the big power button with that LED ring around it. It's also a fingerprint sensor, and we've got a few extra buttons that just make life a lot easier inside of Windows. On-screen keyboard button, dedicated, it'll bring it up right away. We've also got a home button, which will minimize anything that's up on screen, and we've got a dedicated control swap button. Pressing this once will put the built-in controls into keyboard mode, and you can navigate Windows using the controller like a keyboard and mouse. Or you can go with controller mode, plus they've added an optical mouse sensor over here on the right-hand side. With the optical mouse sensor, I did have to set the mouse speed down in order to really use it, but once that's adjusted, it actually works out pretty nicely. The next thing I wanted to take a look at was 3D Mark Time Spy. I just ran this benchmark on the GPD Win 5. 45 watt TDP, that's what it comes with out of the box. We scored a 9,306. And up there, our graphics score is over 9,000, CPU score is over 10,000. To kind of give you an idea here, I also ran at a 25 watt TDP against the Ryzen Z2 AI Extreme and the ROG Ally X. On the GPD Win 5, we scored a 5,328. Graphics score over 5,000, and our CPU score was 7,977. Over on the Ryzen Z2 Extreme, we had a total score of 3,664, and our CPU score actually came out a bit higher at a 25 watt TDP, and this is because with the Ryzen Max 385, we've got a 32 compute unit iGPU. It's just pulling more power for the GPU over there. At 25 watts, we're still beating out the Ryzen Z2 Extreme by quite a bit here. Now it's time to check out some gaming on the Win 5, and the first thing I wanted to do here was really test out this D-pad. I've got Street Fighter 6 running at medium settings, 1080p. I've got the TDP on this APU set to only 18 watts, but it's pulling a little under 14 to run this at medium 1080. It's pretty easy to run. We're at 60 FPS, and just checking out this D-pad with those dome switches, I mean, you can pull your moves off really easily. If you don't like the PS Vita's D-pad for some reason, then you won't like this one, because again, it's the same exact thing they have over there. But I've always been a big fan of this D-pad, really accurate, and you can play basically any way you want, from the edges or even the middle on this. The next game we have here is Spider-Man 2, and this is notoriously hard to run on iGPUs. I've got this set at a 28 watt TDP, and by the way, I mean the base TDP on this out of the box is 45 even on battery. Plugged into the wall, it will do up to 65. I've taken it down to 28 watts, medium settings, 1080p, no frame gen. Usually on handhelds, we have to enable frame gen to see this kind of performance here. Got a couple dips every once in a while, that's kind of normal for this one. But we're seeing an average FPS of around 74, and with frame gen enabled using these same settings up to around 130. But the best thing here is if you want to use frame gen and take the wattage down so you don't burn as much battery, you can go to an 18 watt TDP, get a little more out of it, around 80 FPS on average. The Strix Halo APUs were not made for low wattage gaming, but it doesn't mean we can't get some done on this. When it comes to indie gaming or easier to run games like this here, Forza Horizon 5, we can take it on down, 16, 17 watts, over 100 FPS on average, and dropping it down to 900p at 17 watts, we can lock this down at 120, matching the screen's refresh rate. And since we've got a variable refresh rate display, even running this at a And since we've got a variable refresh rate display, even if you wanted to take the wattage down on a harder to run AAA game and not get 60 out of it, you're not going to see any kind of screen tearing. It's going to still feel really smooth. I just went ahead and set this down stationary to make it easy on myself. We've got Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p, high settings, FSR set to quality, and we're using that 45 watt TDP. Up top in the left-hand corner, we've got Afterburner. I mean, we're over 90 FPS on average with it. I knew we'd see great performance here, but that's a 45 watt TDP, and when we're on battery, it's just gonna burn a lot of power. So I wanted to see what it would do at a 25 watt TDP, same settings here, and we're still over 60, I mean, right there on the edge, 62. And if we were to drop this down to a 900p, it's up in the mid 70s. And I'll tell you, on this 7-inch display at 900p high settings here, it still looks great. And this way, we're still gonna get great performance and good battery life. Next on the list, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2 at high settings, no FSR, 45 watt TDP. I thought we'd see some decent performance here, but I wasn't expecting up in the 80s with it. This is some phenomenal performance for being a handheld, but again, I mean, we're at that 45 watt TDP there. Borderlands 4, this one is giving me a hard time on basically all iGPUs. We're at 1080p medium, FSR set to balanced, and we do need to take it up to 45 watts. I'm not using frame gen, and if we wanted to use frame generation, of course, we're going to get a much higher frame rate out of it. And with frame gen on at 25 watts, we can expect around the same kind of performance we're seeing here. It's fully playable like this, but it's not phenomenal, and I really do think it just comes down to game optimizations right now. And the final one I wanted to test for this video was Doom the Dark Ages 1080p, high FSR set to balanced, 45 watt TDP. We've got more than enough VRAM here, and with this 385 system, I've only got the 32 gig model, so I've dedicated 16 gigs over on the iGPU. We've got 16 gigs for system memory, and we can take the settings up on something like this for sure. With a portable handheld like this, one of the main concerns for a lot of people is going to be battery life. And keep in mind that GPD does sell extra batteries and a charger that can sit on your desk. Plus, you can hot swap the battery as long as you have the device plugged into power. And when it comes to charging that 80 watt-hour battery, using the included 180 watt power supply took me 1 hour and 27 minutes from 0 to 100%. And as for battery life, for indie gaming and 2D gaming at a 10 watt TDP, games like Silk Song and Hades 2, I got 8 hours and 36 minutes of runtime out of this. At a 25 watt TDP for AAA games, 2 hours and 9 minutes. And at a 45 watt TDP, you can expect around an hour of runtime here. And all my testing was done with the screen brightness set to 50%. Obviously, the GPD Win 5 is a very powerful handheld. And remember, we took a look at the Ryzen Max 385. They also have that Ryzen Max Plus 395, which will put down some great performance. But I do think that the 385 would be more efficient, more suited for a handheld gaming device like this, given that it's not going to pull as much power. We've only got those 8 cores and 16 threads. And in this video, we really only took a look at 25 watt gaming and 45 watt gaming. You can take this up to 65 watts on wall power, and once you plug this into an external monitor, you've basically got a really powerful PC setup also, and taking that wattage up to 65 watts does unlock some extra performance out of the Max 385 for sure. Overall, I do think it's a great handheld, think it's comfortable, and for what we have here, battery life isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I do love the fact that we've got that detachable battery, and having a few extra around would be really nice. That way you could just hot swap them out. One thing I'd love to see in a future revision is just a bigger screen. This is the 7-inch 120Hz display that we saw in the ROG Ally, the Ally X, and even now the ROG Xbox Ally X. Plus, GPD used this in a couple of their other devices. Going from that 7-inch display up to even something like the 8-inch 120Hz display that we saw in the MSI Claw 8 AI and the Legion Go S would be really nice. OLED would definitely be the way to go, but that's going to bring the price up even more. So I wouldn't mind if they stuck with an IPS as long as we still get VRR support and we've got a little bit more screen. If you're interested in learning a little more about the GPD Win 5, I'll leave links in the description, and I'll have at least one more video coming up I do want to explore dock mode with this at that 65 watt TDP mark. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, it'd be really cool if you could hit that like button and think about subscribing so you know when I post the next one. And if there's anything else you want to see running on this, just let me know in the comments below. But that's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.